Chapter 54, 7 Years to Perfect Health. Whatever condition your health is in, you can change it to perfect health in 7 years by following the 7 year fasting schedule. When you complete it, you'll never be sick another day in your life. I started the schedule when I was 21 years old and completed it when I was 28. I've been living by it ever since. I haven't been sick a day since then. In ancient times, before the advent of the light races, all people on earth lived by this schedule. They started it when they were 21 also and also completed it when they were 28 years of age. The schedule uses a natural rhythm that follows the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 7. These four numbers are the natural rhythmic numbers of vibration as our body and brain. A repetition based on them will train the body in the most gentle way to adopt a new habit, at the same time displacing the old harmful habits. Anyone under the age of 60 can use this rhythmic schedule for 7 years. After 7 years, his or her body will be habituated to a new, constructive, healthy rhythm. Our destructive rhythms and habits, especially our eating habits, are inculcated into our bodies by the simple process of repetition. As adults, we eat 3 or more times a day, not because it's natural to do so, but because we pounded that rhythm into our bodies by repetition. So, 3 or more times every day, the rhythmic clock in our stomach starts ringing a bell, clamoring to be fed, and so we eat. It's all out of pure habit. A new constructive habit can be inculcated into our bodies exactly the same way that the old one was, namely by repetition. It's not necessary to repeat the exact number of times to get a complete reversal. In other words, say you are 30 years old and have been eating 3 or more times a day for 30 years. You don't have to repeat the new rhythms for the other another 30 years before your body gets used to it. You could do it in 7 years. That's the importance of the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 7. A repetition based on them has the power to reverse old, harmful habits in 7 years. The ancients knew that only growing children up to the age of 21 should eat 3 times a day because their energy requirements and metabolism rates are high due to the fact that their bodies are still forming. After the age of 21, it's no longer necessary to eat 3 times a day, so this habit has to be broken if a person desires to live in good health. Children under the age of 7 were allowed to eat as much as they wished. At that young age, the mind and body are still in a close natural synchrony, and children usually eat only when they are hungry. They have the same instinct that animals have in the wild, and that they're able to listen to their bodies and know exactly when they're hungry. After the age of 7, this natural instinct in people begins to fade if it's not trained and encouraged to continue. It's overwhelmed by the other more present things that begin to occupy the developing mind. So, beginning at age 7, children were taught to eat only 3 times a day and only as much as they needed. This continued for 14 years until the age of 21. After 21, they were initiated into the 7 year fasting schedule, such as the one I'll describe in the next post. This schedule slowly and gently took them off the 3 meals per day to 1 meal every 3 days. 1 meal every 3 days is the ideal dietary rhythm for adults to maintain constant good health. All foods contain a certain amount of poisonous substances. These mild poisons are essential for the body and play just as important a role in the body's health as the nutritious substances. Nutritious substances are essential to provide energy for daily living. The poisonous substances in all foods are also essential, but for a different protective reason. They are the soldiers that guard every cell in our body to make sure that foreign harmful substances don't lodge themselves in. Without these mild poisons in every food we eat, our bodies would soon succumb to foreign biological and other agents that could harm our cells. So these mild poisons are found on the walls of all the cells, aiding our immune system to stand guard and destroy any harmful agents that find their ways into our bodies. The danger is that these mild poisons can cause harm themselves if they're allowed to accumulate beyond a safe level. In children, they're metabolized every 6 to 12 hours. They don't have the opportunity to do much harm by themselves, except when they're aided by and bolstered by an unhealthy diet. In adults, all people over 21 years of age, they're metabolized only once every 3 days. When an adult aids more of them by eating food every day, even 3 or more times a day, they slowly accumulate until they cause an illness such as cold, fever, headaches, and so on. Soon thereafter, if they're not cleared, the illness can get serious and become a grave disease such as pneumonia and others, even cancer or a heart attack. By eating only healthy foods once every 3 days, there's enough time for the poisons that are no longer useful to be processed and flushed out of the system. Then they're replaced by new ones that continue the job of guarding our cells. That's how they're naturally prevented from accumulating and causing disease, thereby turning from being our protectors into our enemies. We can keep them as our friends by giving them enough time to dissolve and make way for new ones by eating only once every 3 days. Now, it takes strength of character to start such a long term permanent fasting schedule. It's not advisable for anyone to go immediately from their present unhealthy eating habits and start eating once every 3 days or even once a day. Such a drastic reversal will be too much of a shock to the body. The change has to be slow and gentle so that the body can become used to it without discomfort. The 7 year fasting schedule is an ideal changeover schedule. It has the same natural rhythm that our bodies live by. Anyone who follows it will gently rehabituate themselves from whatever eating schedule they're on now to a proper healthy eating habit that adults should follow to maintain constant, perfect health permanently.